Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rusty Beauties Restorations. And today we're gonna be working on our 1970 Triumph TR6. Not this, that. We had enough of this for a while. I mean, we replaced one side, the floor, the seal, we made perfect gaps on that side and all that. So if you're not following this project, I'm gonna put a link. This is 1958 Triumph TR3. But today, like I said, we're gonna be working on our 1970 TR6. It's been neglected for a while, but we wanna start working on it again because soon it's gonna be spring. I mean, spring is around the corner, and this car is more likely to be on the road this summer than that one, right? Plus, it was here first, so you know the saying, first time, first serve? Yeah, kind of. Anyway, that's our project for today. So far we've been working on the dash mostly, and the wiring under the dash and all that. We wired the headlights, the tail lights, and lots of things. And we're mostly done with the electrical. Here's my jumper wires. I was wondering where they were. We're mostly done with the electrical. Like, there's few little things here and there that still need to be done. I think mostly in the interior, like interior lights, the switch on the door, so when the door opens, your illumination under the dash goes on and stuff like that. But in general, we are mostly done. So like I said, since the spring is around the corner, we want to start putting the car together and see if we can make it drivable, because eventually soon we want to take it for a test drive. I definitely want to do that before I put the transmission cover and start putting the interior together, you know what I mean? So that's why we're going to focus on that in the next few episodes. I mean, we don't have carbs, we don't have alternator on the other side, not even a belt. Can we put the belt on now? The hoses, we have a set of green hoses for the coolant. We need to connect the brakes because we have all the brake lines on the frame and on the wheels, but they are not connected to the PDWA here. And we left them unhooked because we want to flush the lines, because we're going to use .5 brake fluid and we want to make sure that all the brake lines are flushed. So that's also what we have to do. And eventually we're going to start the engine, right? So for those of you who are not familiar with the beginning of this restoration, and for those of you who forgot because it was a long time ago, this engine has been rebuilt. I rebuilt it like 5-6 years ago. I started it, drove the car once. It wasn't even a car at the time, it was just the chassis with the engine and transmission. It was a different transmission, so definitely we want to start it and drive it with this transmission and overdrive to make sure that it works before we go too far with the assembly. But yeah, that was like 5-6 years ago. I don't even remember how long ago. And we want to make sure that it still starts. I mean, it's freshly rebuilt engine, but it's sat for a long time. So of course we're gonna prime the oil system before we start cranking it and all that. Right now it has points, but we want to replace those with electronic ignition and yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking on it. Alright, so let's start with the hoses. And here we have a whole set. Wow. I have the feeling something is missing here. Huh. That's interesting. And that's for that pipe. And then we don't have any more big hoses. That's interesting. Where is our top hose? The one from here to here. I know we have this one, but this one was just random there. Anyway, we're gonna see what we have, what we don't. We might need to order this one. Anyway, so let's do that. I'm gonna start with the hoses. The ones inside we already installed. These down here because it was easier when the dash was not there. They are black, so with the kit these are the only two that come black. Everything else in the engine bay is green. Okay, so I put them. Okay, so I positioned them. What is the word I'm looking for?
Located?
Okay, so I unpacked all the hoses and
Place them?
okay, I unpacked all the hoses and I placed them. Thanks for the hint. Our visitor in the garage is here again. So he's helping me with words that don't come to me. Anyways, I placed the hoses where they go. And now I'm gonna start putting the clamps. And for 6,354,000 time, I get upset with this. The clamps that come with this green hose set kit, whatever it is, they're too big. They never fit. Look, this is all the way tight and it doesn't tighten around the hoses. So now again, I'm gonna have to come up with my regular clamps here. I love to put wire clamps, but these are just some cheap ones that don't fit here. All right, so all the clamps are installed. I also installed those hoses underneath. There's one clamp, that one. I don't know if you can see it there, but that one is loose. I'm gonna tighten from underneath when we lift the car. So everything else is tight. I even put this black hose back, but I'm gonna order the green one for there and we're gonna replace it at some point. But for now, I just wanted the system to be complete because eventually we might even start the car. So that took a while. I also changed the thermostat housing because John had a new one, so we installed that. The big clamps as well, they didn't work, so they're way too big. Anyway, I think the next thing to do is, I don't know, maybe I should install the carbs. Yeah, let's do that. And this is what we're gonna use for carbs. So these are side draft Webers.
Downdraft.
Yeah, these are downdraft Webers. Thank you. Oh my God, what am I gonna do without him when he's done? So these are 3236 DGV, whatever that means. I know they're a little bit controversial. Some people like them, some don't. I don't really have an opinion on them because I've never used them. I used them only on this car a few years ago when they were on the car and I drove it, and that was it. I drove it for literally 200 yards, I guess. They came with the car. We're gonna install them and we will see if John is not happy with them. We can always switch them to some Strombergs later or whatever. So I spent the other day a couple of hours, I guess, to clean them up a little bit. The linkage was all messed up and it's nice and not galvanized. It is, what is it?
Cadmium.
Cadmium. So I spent some time cleaning them. The actual carbs were not really bad. I just ran a little bit of a toothbrush inside wherever I could reach, but didn't spend crazy amount of time on them. So now the only thing that I want to do is I'm gonna take out the linkage from here, this shaft, and clean it up because it's all rusted. And that's everything I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna install them and we're gonna move on to the next thing. All right, so the carbs are installed and the linkage is still not secure here because they used this piece of rubber hose here as a stop, not to go in that direction, but there's nothing here. And David said that he has some special collets that go here to limit the movement, lateral movement I believe it's called, of the shaft. So we're gonna leave it as it is. Plus this spring is super soft here. I think I saw a spring like this somewhere in the parts, but now I can't find it. So we're gonna leave it alone for now because it's not returning very well. I mean, this is even not tight here, but look, even only with one, doesn't come back. I have to force it here with my finger. So we're gonna leave them alone for now. So this movement up to here until this hits here is only for the front throttle plate or the outer throttle plate, and then you have another one there that after this hits here starts moving this lever as well, and that opens this one inside. So it's interesting how they work. They also have a accelerator pump, which is something that we're really missing on the side draft carburetors. Makes your mixture rich for this initial push. Anyway, I don't want to say these are better than Stromberg's or anything. I'm just saying that it is different how they work. Anyway, so I think that's where we're gonna leave them for now until I find a better spring for there and the collets, so we can adjust the linkage properly here so they work properly. In the meantime, I found the alternator, so I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. It started rusting just from sitting for 5 years. Anyway, I'm gonna clean it up and we're gonna install it. I'm not showing you a lot of hands-on today. I mean, there's nothing special. I'm gonna show you hands-on when we have something to show, right? Okay, the alternator is installed and the belt and everything. I don't know why people are struggling with belts, installing them down there. I should have shown you, but what I do when installing engines, I make sure that they are installed as far back as possible. Believe me, there is a little bit of adjustment. That's why you have the slots here on the engine mounts, because you can push it as far back as possible, of course, as far back as this bracket, this mount allows you. But there's a little bit of movement, you know, but it's rubber here, it's rubber there, so you can push it back and mount it then, and there's more than enough room there. So anyways, the belt is installed and it's plugged in. This one is a weird alternator. I think it's 15 amp. It's like one of the first alternators with 2 plugs here. It has a ground wire connected there to the engine block and all that, but anyway, it's the original one that came with the car. So for now, that's what we're gonna use. Hopefully it's gonna be enough, because John wants an amplifier in this car, so eventually we will have to see if that's gonna be capable of keeping up with the amplifier. But it's gonna be a small amplifier anyways, it's not gonna be a huge one. So the only wire that's not connected now here is this, the ignition wire, which goes to the coil. It's not a bad idea to check this coil, make sure it's 3 ohm, because we have non-ballasted system here. Doesn't say anything. Lucas. Anyway, we're gonna check it. But anyway, I don't want it connected because sometimes I turn the ignition on to check lights and stuff, and I don't want the ignition coil to be under power and the points as well. So I leave that unplugged. Well, you know what? Let's figure out what else we need in order to start the engine. Like, I don't think we're gonna start it in this video, but at least we can start prepping for that. So we need to hook up the linkage here. Like we said earlier, we need to finish hooking up the fuel line, which we have here. So that's fuel filter. It's look at this. Well, I guess it worked before, so we're gonna see. If this doesn't leak, we're gonna just use it again. We have the fuel line run all the way to here. We don't have the fuel line from the gas tank connected to the fuel pump, but we're gonna do that later. Whenever we run it for the first time, we're gonna run it with jug outside. So fuel-wise, assuming that we fix the linkage, we're gonna be fine. Coolant-wise, we need to tighten that clamp down there and then fill up the system. I believe everything else is hooked up. Electrically, everything is hooked up. Oh, there's one thing. We don't have the power cable from the battery that hooks up to the starter. And that starter, I think we should have checked that earlier. When we tested the harness, the starter wasn't clicking. Anyway, we're gonna test that after we prime the oil system, because that's also one thing that we need to do. I want to prime the oil system before we do anything with the engine. Maybe we should spray also a little bit of WD-40 in the cylinders, because I know, like I said, we rebuilt this engine 5-6 years ago, but it's sad, so everything is dry now. It was run and then stopped. Actually, let me go and watch some of my old videos. I need to figure out something. Okay, so what the situation is here, I totally forgot about that. When I rebuilt the engine, we had some issues with the camshaft. I believe some really weird camshaft was installed. I was trying to find out what spec it was because it didn't have anything marked on it, so finally we ended up removing it and installing regular camshaft, like the factory cut. We just bought a new one and we installed it there. But when I drove the car, I mean, I drove the chassis only, but when I drove the chassis after we rebuilt the engine, it was with the old camshaft. After that, we pulled the engine again. Now I remember that when I'm watching my videos, I remember that we pulled it again and we put it on the stand and we changed the camshaft. And after that, it hasn't been run at all. So we haven't even broken in this camshaft. So that's what we have to do. Once we start this car, we're gonna have to keep it running for 30 minutes with oil and everything. We don't even have oil in it. Hold on. I don't think we ever put oil after we changed the camshaft. Yeah. Yep. It's dry. All right. So we have to make a plan here. What after what? All right. So here's the plan. Since the engine was never run after the final assembly with the final camshaft, but it was run before we installed the camshaft, this means that all the assembly lube from the rebuilding process was washed away. So we have a totally dry engine. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the spark plugs and I'm gonna spray, I guess, WD-40 inside the cylinders to make sure that we have some lubrication when we start spinning the engine initially. So we're gonna pour oil and we're gonna prime the engine by turning the oil pump manually. Make sure that we lubricate the main bearings and the connecting rod bearings and all that. Make sure that we fill up the oil filter. Do we even have a filter? Now I have to check if we have an oil filter inside. Okay, that's gonna be first. I'm gonna check if we have oil filter in it. I don't think we would have removed it. We drained the oil because we put the engine on the stand. Even if there's oil filter, we're gonna replace it because we're gonna put new oil. And one more thing I'm gonna do, because at that time, in few occasions, I did camshaft timing with my degree wheel upside down. Somehow it was easy to make that mistake, and I made it at least 2 times before I fixed my degree wheel, so now it only has 1 0. Before it had 0 for top dead center and 0 for bottom dead center. Now it goes 1 to 90 and then continues 280 at bottom dead center. So I want to make sure that I haven't made that mistake here too. We're gonna check the timing on the camshaft and I'll show you how. We're not gonna take it apart. We're just gonna check it with the valve overlap method, where the intake and exhaust valves need to be equally open at top dead center on the non-firing stroke. Okay, I'm gonna explain that later. So we have lots of things to do apparently. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking on them. Okay, we're gonna start with the oil system, whatever we have to do there. But to do that, we're gonna have to jack the car up. So to jack it up, actually we need to put air in this tire because it goes flat all the time. No, Elin, don't make that joke. Don't make that joke. Well, it's flat only at the bottom. Oh, I said it. Again, I made the same joke. Every time, Elin, every time. Anyway, it goes flat all the time, only at the bottom, but it goes flat. Okay. Okay, what else I found out was that the distributor and everything was not even mounted there. The distributor was just dropped on top. So I left it off, obviously, because I wanted to prime the oil system whenever the time comes. That's what I do when I rebuild engines. Just leave that loose, and just before we start the engine for the first time, that's when I prime the oil system and assemble this part of the car permanently. All right, so that was easy. It took me 30 seconds. Okay, took the spark plugs out, and not that it matters, but cylinders 5, 4 and 6 were running pretty well on that run that we had in that winter at -6, -7 degrees Celsius outside. But number 1, 2 and 3 are fouled, which tells me that the front carb was running rich. So eventually we're gonna see how. Anyway, okay, so here we are. I'm gonna put some WD-40 in the cylinders, and then I'm gonna go and check if we have a filter there, and if we have, we're gonna replace it anyways. All right, turns out we do have a filter in it, but it's the filter that we initially drove the car with, so we're gonna take it out, and the gasket as well. We have a new gasket, and we have these oil filters here that actually somebody donated, so have brand new ones. Thank you so much, David. So that's what we're gonna use. We're gonna put this one in. I'm gonna replace the gasket now. We're gonna install it. I also took out the plug just in case to see if there's old oil there. No, all of it was drained. So basically we're starting from scratch. Okay, the filter is installed again. The new filter with the new gasket. And now we can pour the oil and prime the oil system. I'm gonna take out this cover. We have a new alloy valve cover, but I think we're gonna run it initially with this valve cover, because after the initial run we're gonna have to take out the valve cover again and adjust the valves. So that's probably when we're gonna install permanently the alloy valve cover. For now we're gonna run it with this. I don't even know if it has gasket, but I have a gasket for it anyway. So that's one thing that we want to do. Like I said, we want to check the timing on the camshaft, but for that we're going to need to turn the engine, and I'd like to prime the oil system before we turn the engine. We're going to test the starter motor as well, so then we can crank it a little bit with the spark plugs out, just to make sure that everything is lubricated nicely, and then we're going to check the camshaft timing. Okay, so this is my preferred oil, as usual, Valvoline 20W50 VR1, racing and classic cars, high performance with zinc added. So that's my favorite one. Let's see if we can pour it directly here. Yeah. Right now the car is not leveled, so I'm just gonna put 5 liters. And after we prime it and it's leveled, we're gonna double check it and top it up. I believe it needs to take 5.5. I'm leaving the rockers dry on purpose because I want to see when I'm priming it whether oil is gonna start coming out from each of these holes. I was looking at these rockers here. So we have 2 brand new ones. The rest obviously were good, but these we replaced for some reason. Like, I don't remember, honestly, I don't remember what I've done. But anyways, looks like these are new. So yeah, we have 5 liters in. I think it's time to start priming it. And for that we're gonna use my trusty priming tool. I show it every time, I'm gonna show it again. It is basically an extension from 3/8 ratchet and socket set that is cut on one side like this. It has a slot, virtually the same slot as on the distributor drive gear that drives also the oil pump underneath. So that represents this. When we drop it down there, it engages with the oil pump. Then we can put an adapter for a screw gun, except I'm gonna put it in a drill, not in a screw gun, because the screw gun has a clutch that starts ratcheting, and the drill I can adjust here so it doesn't ratchet. And we have to spin it counterclockwise, because that's how our distributor spins, right? Counterclockwise. So let's do that and see if it is going to start splashing oil on us or not. So initially it starts spinning easy, and as soon as the oil pump sucks some oil, it becomes hard when it starts building pressure. So you can definitely, you can hear the change in the drill. There you go. Pushing out all the air. Let's see if the pressure gauge shows something. So you're gonna have to tell me, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to see. Or maybe, oh, actually I can see. There you go. So I'm gonna continue doing it until I see oil coming everywhere. Actually, it started coming now, you see. I want to see it coming out from these holes on top of the rockers, but I can see it dripping in between the rocker and the pedestal already. Here and here. Yeah, let's see. Okay, sorry for the shaky camera, but yeah, you can see now that all the way to the front, even here it started dripping. I don't know why it doesn't come through the holes on these. It's just in between, so I'm gonna continue spinning it. I'm just gonna replace the battery. I'm gonna continue spinning it until I see oil coming from everywhere. Okay, just killed another battery. So, but yeah, some of them allow more oil to come out, some of them less. I don't know why, but even the one in the front has a little bit of oil. A lot of it came out underneath, in between the pedestal and rocker, so that tells me that the shaft inside is lubricated. That's good. Engine is primed now, so now we can crank it. Now I feel okay cranking it. So before we forget, we put the gear in, because we don't want to crank the engine without this gear, because that drives the oil pump, right? Don't forget that. Okay, like I said, I have the ground cable here that I installed off camera a few days ago, but I couldn't find the positive cable. So what I did was I hooked up these two power wires that need to go to the motor, to the starter, but I also hooked up this crimp connector, and then I'm just gonna clamp my booster cables or jumper cables here like that. I think that's safe enough. Head of the clamp is isolated anyway, so should be good. And then the positive, we're gonna hook up the negative. I mean, we're gonna hook up here, and the other end we're gonna hook up to our battery, and then we're gonna try to crank it. Oops, why is our fan on? Okay, let's try that again. Ignition, and nothing. Okay, I'll go check the wires. Yeah, looks like this starter motor is dead, because I jumped it with my trusty power probe and nothing happens. So right here, you see, because it shows me ground, but when I try to jump it, has a voltage drop, so power goes through it, but nothing. What about the other one? There's a little terminal underneath that I believe is for later cars with ballast resistor to bypass the resistor wire. No, nothing on that as well. Do we have power here at all? Yeah, we have power here. Looks like it's seized from sitting. Anyway, we have another starter that's Jones, so let's check that one out. Okay, so this is another starter motor that came with the parts in Jones containers. Hopefully it works, so we can just paint it and install it. So we're gonna ground it here, and first, you know what, let's test the solenoid only without powering up the actual starter. So the solenoid is grounded, and this is where the ignition switch gives it power. When it has ground and power, it clicks, and when it clicks, it connects this terminal to this terminal internally. Wow, this is shaking, this terminal, so I don't know. So that's why we have permanent power here. As soon as you provide power to this terminal, then this terminal is live, and now it powers up also the actual motor inside, which also is grounded on the same side. And the solenoid has double function. Now that we have the starter here, we're going to explain it a little bit. The other function of the solenoid is not only to provide power for the motor, but also to kick out this gear, which engages with the flywheel and starts turning it. It has a lever here. So okay, so the solenoid works. Now I'm assuming the motor is going to work as well, but let's connect the power here. We have to be really careful now not to shorten anything. This is a really good clamp because it's the red is insulation, but we still have to be careful because this is live here. On this side there is nothing. So like that. Okay, let's try now. It's picking up speed, which tells me that it is a little bit corroded inside. And now slowing down again, so well, the battery is 12 volts, so it's not dying. See, it's seizing on me. The battery is still good. Should we install it? I mean, it's going bad. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna clean it and paint it, and we're gonna replace it. Okay, this baby is wrapped. It's cleaned and wrapped, and I'm gonna go down in the basement to paint it. I don't want to overspray on this car, and I'm too lazy to cover it because I want to continue working on it. Anyway, I'm gonna go downstairs and paint it. Okay, so I took out the starter from the car, and let's see what's going on with it. Yep, nothing. I don't know why. It's spinning. Oh. The battery is good. Let's try directly. So I'm gonna power it up directly here on this stud to see if the solenoid or the starter is bad. Yeah, the starter is bad. I don't know. Or it is grounding somewhere and it's using all the... It's shorting? I don't know. But even the solenoid is not moving. It's weird because this starter, we drove the car with it, didn't we? Anyway, we have the other one. This one is garbage. Alright, the new starter is installed. The other starter is installed, hooked up the same way with the battery down there. So let's give it another try. Oh my god. Not very strong either. Holy moly. Do we need another starter? Ay, 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 ay. Okay. I have another one that is apparently freshly rebuilt. You see here? K&P Electrics. So this should work for sure. This was donated to me again, together with two engines that sit outside in my shed. Thank you, Chris. And let's see if that's gonna work. Don't know if that's gonna make good ground there, but we'll see. So, okay. Okay. This one jumps. That sounds better. Okay, that sounds much better. So, one more time we have to switch starters. Oh my god. Okay, this one is in now. Let's see if the third dad is lucky. I like that. Okay. Now I'm happy. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Oh, time flies, doesn't it? Yeah, it's the next day, all of a sudden. Alright guys, it's the next day and last night I edited the video so far. I thought I was gonna continue filming today, installing the distributor, drive gear, checking the cam timing and all that, but you know what, the video is already too long. Well, you are watching it, so you know that it is almost 40 minutes already, so we're gonna finish it here, and in the next episode we're gonna continue with that. So what we still have to do to prep the engine for starting is install the distributor. Well, now that this distributor is out, I was thinking we should start the car with the points because we know that it ran like this before, but now that it is out and I'm looking at this wire even, it's not the proper wire for here. So you know what, we should install the electronic ignition. We have a new one. I don't like these points anyways. Looks like the follower here is worn somehow. Anyway, so we'll take care of the distributor as well. We're gonna check the cam timing, we're gonna set the ignition timing, and we're even gonna check the valve lash. I'm pretty sure I adjusted the valves at the end of the rebuild. I mean, after I changed the camshaft and all that, because we had to remove the rocker shaft, of course, for that. But after that, I think we just need to take care of the linkage of the carbs, supply fuel, and I think we will be ready to start it. So chances are that in the next video we're gonna attempt to start the engine. Fingers crossed the timing is correct and all that, you know. It's still cold outside, but it is positive temperature. I mean, it is not freezing. We're gonna open that door, we're gonna open the big garage door, and we're gonna start it. And if we have to run outside, we're gonna run outside, you know. But it is what it is. Anyways, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Hopefully we're gonna have a we will start video next, but we will see. I don't promise. I don't make any promises anymore because I keep promising stuff about my GT6 over there and I keep not keeping my promise. I keep not keeping. I keep not keeping my promise. So you keep keeping, don't keep not keeping. So let me keep keeping with my saying goodbye here right now. Oh my God, I keep saying keeping and now I don't even know if that's a word. Keep. Does it even make sense? Keep. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate your help and your support on Patreon and via PayPal, and also the parts that you donate and tools and all that. You see, they come handy all the time. So once again, guys, thank you for everything. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Keep on keeping. Well, I don't know if that's a word anymore.